Venkateshji, I think your presentation was a good segue into what I'm going to say. So just by way of background, I work with the International Finance Corporation, which is usually called as the private sector arm of the World Bank Group. And it is called that because we normally work with the private sector, we support them with financing, equity, debt, and all the instruments in between. But there's a small part of IFC with which I work, which we support governments in thinking through, conceptualizing and designing such interventions on public-private partnership models. So we have been working in this space for the last 4 or 5 years, especially in the cities of Bhubaneswar and Jaipur. And what I'm going to present today is sort of leading the lessons learned from these two projects. And I'm focusing on street lighting because this is a session on project finance, and we talk about finance. The DEL program that ESL is managing, which is rapidly scaling up, that doesn't really require commercial finance because the lead time is very small. You just distribute the bulbs which are managed by the households. You don't need to provide a service really, just selling a small item. So there's no real project finance required there. Whereas street lighting, as someone mentioned in the morning, it's about selling a service. It's a 7-year service. Municipalities do not have exposure to LEDs. Mr. Goel just mentioned that the municipalities haven't faced this kind of procurement also before. So they need a strong partner for the full period of 7 or 10 years for the entire contract duration. So thereby comes the role of finance, commercial finance. Now ESL has been doing a tremendous job, have been scaling up their capacity, they have been availing of different financing options from commercial banks, from multilaterals, bilaterals. Their equity has been increased. But as we heard, the requirement of the country is lakhs of crores. Now, will have to come in sooner or later. So that's just by the context. I think this, a lot of speakers before me have covered why we are talking about energy efficiency. Industry drivers, and there are clear win-win situations to be available from these projects. Plus, from a country's point of view, there are benefits to be available. So I'll skip this one. Broadly, and this is dumbing down the models, but there are many, many more complex variations of implementation models. But we can say there are 4 broad implementation models that a municipality can choose to have while thinking about a street lighting program. The first one is business as usual. We all understand EPC contracts. They have tenders, usually annual tenders, to replace dysfunctional lamps and lights. All the risks are retained by the municipality. Some municipalities have contracts for maintenance of these lamps, but that's it. That is a traditional model. Obviously, LEDs are still not included in those tenders. It's a relatively new technology. People don't have experience. Performance parameters are not really established. So and there's no role for commercial finance there. The deemed savings model, or some people call it the annuity model, which ESL has been successfully implementing and scaling up. There again, the role of commercial finance. Commercial lenders would actually feel very comfortable with this kind of a model. If you know the experience of the highways projects, the entire highways program, we have the annuity projects, we have the toll road projects. Toll road projects obviously are much more risky because as a lender, I need to bother about whether the demand will materialize or not, whether the payments will come or not, whether people will pay tolls or not. Similarly, for street lighting projects, in deemed savings model project, I just need to bother about whether the municipality will pay my annual or monthly fixed fee or not, so that I can get my loan repaid or not. Performance of those lamps does not really bother me much as a lender. So it's a simplistic model. Lenders would prefer that model much more than the saving share model and the guaranteed savings model. But I'll come to what are the lecturers in that model towards the end of my presentation. I'll just go a little bit deeper into the first 2 models where the municipalities transfer most of the risks to the private ESCO, which is the shared savings and the guaranteed savings. For those of you who don't know, just 1 minute on this slide. In a shared savings model, the ULB signs the agreement with the ESCO. It's normally a 5 to 10 year contract, let's say a 7-year contract, which ESL was implementing. The ESCO actually avails of the finance. The ESCO invests the entire capital. The ESCO is supposed to manage the entire program for the contract duration. So the risks of performance or the risk of non-performance really, of the things like lux levels not being achieved, of lamps not working, replacing the lamps that are not working, all those risks are borne by the ESCO. ULB's role is just to verify and measure what are the savings being actually achieved, whether those savings are as per the tender documents in the winning bid or not, and then to share this 5% of the savings with the ESCO. Now it sounds very simplistic, but as Venkateshji mentioned, this thing of figuring out whether savings are being achieved or not, it's hugely complicated. In India, in the past 15 years, I think there have been more than 25 ESCO-based projects on this model. Most of them did not live through their contract life. Most of them failed in some sense or the other mainly because of the monitoring and verification complexities. But to my own mind, as also during the IRC or the World Bank Group had, I don't think that's reason enough for us to discard that model completely. I think there are ways and means to address those issues. Those issues need to be addressed. So we should take them head on and try and improve systems. The guaranteed savings model is a variation on that model. In this, again, the big difference is that the ULB, the city itself, invests the funding for retrofitting the lamps. The ESCO's role in this case is to install those lamps, to provide the service, and to design the ECM measures, the energy conservation measures. So the ESCO is supposed to configure what sort of energy savings can be achieved through what kind of measures. So therefore, wattages of lamps, quality of lamps, after the performance specs are defined by the ULB, the ESCO defines all those things, but the ULB raises the capital or invests the funding for the program to be implemented. And then the ESCO is paid an annuity or monthly fee to manage the entire program. And there are penalties in case the promised savings are not achieved by the ESCO, so the difference is made up by the ESCO. So again, this is commercial finance can be availed by the cities in India also, but this is again not really available to commercial finance because the investment is normally made by the ULB. Now this is, we call it the financing ladder. It's a fancy jargon, but it just tells you that at the bottom line we have usually what ULBs do, they implement such programs with budgetary allocations from their own revenues or normally from budgetary allocations received from the state government. They implement capital investment programs, including street lighting. As you go up, the complexity and the level of risk increases in this financing ladder. And therefore, it's a given that only mature markets can avail of the financial instruments which are on the upper half of the financing ladder. Now in India, we have, I think, explored most of these options in various stages of life cycle of these projects in the last 10-15 years. We have utility on-bill financing, which we see in the DELP model very successfully, where DISCOMs are, with help from ESL and companies such as yours, distributing bulbs to people like me, and we repay through the utility bills over a period of 10 to 12 months. So that is successfully being used now. There are revolving funds which were in vogue a few years back. There were lines of credit which were also floated by institutions such as ICICI, but they were limited. They were limited to smaller projects, smaller energy efficiency interventions. Right now we're talking about very large street lighting projects. I mean, 2 lakhs is actually the largest program ever in the world. So that kind of money, I mean, we don't really have any lines of credit or any financial options right now. Financial institutions and commercial banks they're not geared up to look at this sector. They don't have credit officers who can understand and appraise the risks involved in a street lighting transaction. So it will take some doing, and I'll come to what are the challenges involved. We heard in the morning from Dr. Mathur about the partial risk sharing facility. Onu mentioned that World Bank has designed one with BEE, but they also, in a sense, presuppose that there is commercial finance to be availed, because risk sharing facility, for those of you who don't know, it basically gives additional comfort to lenders who are willing to lend money to these kind of projects. So unless you have commercial finance, unless you have commercial lenders willing to lend money, the risk sharing facility will not see any offtake. And finally, we come to the commercial finance. So I'm going to talk a bit about what will it take. So if I am a lender, and each lending institution has what we call a credit department, I'm supposed to look at the project, look at the risks and figure out if I provide 100 rupees to the project, whether I'll get my interest on time or not, I'll get my money repaid or not. Now in a street lighting project, particularly on the shared savings model, these are the plethora of issues. I think some of the technical ones were covered by ESL in their presentation. Lack of metering. I was actually surprised to note that South Delhi MC Municipal Corporation also does not have adequate metering for street lights. This is true for most of the cities in India. Now, in the absence of any metering, shared savings model just won't work. And deemed savings model is, I guess, the appropriate approach and rather easy approach in the absence of any metering. So if you want to go in for shared savings approach, you need to ensure that you have meters in place, you have systems in place for proper metering, billing, and so on. I think this weighting pole spans is another important issue that is brought out. So again, we have standard methodologies defined by Government of India, the 9-point survey methodology. That may need to be modified looking at the specific conditions of our cities. So in the Bhubaneswar project, I think we have to design a 3-point methodology for roads which have non-standard pole spans. So you need to take care of all these issues while designing your contracts and documents, so that lenders, when they look at those contracts, they derive some comfort that yes, energy savings shared approach can work, and the municipalities, first of all, the ESCO will be able to perform and meet its performance specifications, comply with the output criteria specified in the documents, as well as the ULB will be able to pay on time. Sorry, I'll just press on with this key financing risks. I think one critical requirement, because municipal payment risk is a big risk. One critical requirement is creation of a TRA, trust retention account, or an escrow account. This had been done in the last 10 years. I mentioned more than 25 projects, but somehow the municipalities did not stick to what was provided for in the debt document. So both parties have to comply with, if a party is getting delayed, you can invoke the bank guarantee or whatever you mentioned, sir. On the other side, the government also has to comply with what is their contract with them. They have to open the escrow account on time, make sure they fund that escrow account, make sure that the escrow receives payments on time, month on month from that escrow account. Otherwise, these projects just won't work. And the lenders need to have first charge on those accounts. So these are some of the intricacies, and I guess from a municipal side, some complications or complexities that you refer to that really need to be fleshed out while designing such projects. Lenders need to have step-in rights. So this is critical because it's a sunrise sector. We don't have too many ESCOs. We have lots of companies and vendors such as this one. ESCOs are limited. So the risk of failure obviously plays on the mind of the lender quite a lot. So they need to have step-in rights that if for some reason the project fails, they can step in and bring in a credible company to manage the project for the rest of the contract duration. The role of state governments becomes very critical in some projects. In Jaipur, for example, it was also a unique situation, and Pulaji is going to talk about it. But Jaipur actually levies cess on electricity bill, which goes towards meeting the street lighting energy expenditure. So it was a good opportunity because the ULB does not pay for the electricity that it consumes in street lighting. The state government nets it off against the cess that they collect. So in this case, bulk of payment, 75% of the payment, maybe more than that, was supposed to come directly from the state government. So in a sense, the ESCO is insulated, at least significantly insulated from payment risk from the ULB. Then once the contract is assigned and these challenges are taken care of, there are these implementation challenges. I think the biggest, from a lender's perspective, I'll just point out to 2 or 3. One is what we call a sponsor risk or a company risk. That the company which is coming in, whether they have the credibility, they have the back-end contracts with the supplier, the vendors or not, whether they can avail of 7-year warranties from the contractor or not, whether the particular technology or all the components, the drivers and all will be available for the next 7 years or not. Overly aggressive bids is something that scares the vendors. Sometimes, equity by nature is optimistic. So when a bidder comes in, the bidder says, "Oh, I can achieve 70%, 80% saving. Prima facie, that seems a distant dream. I'm happy to report that both the projects, Bhubaneswar, Jaipur, they claim those kind of savings and early results are very encouraging. So it's happening to our pleasant surprise. But very, very aggressive bids, lenders will normally shy away because may not be achieved.
Yeah.
And I think the baselining, the inventory, bank inventory recording, the installation of meters, improvement of infrastructure that Venkatesh mentioned, I think those are important obligations of the government that a lender would need to see before the contract is implemented and before the finance is implemented. I think this is my last slide, and this is a bit of reflection on the team savings model. And this has got all to do with political economy and you know, are we selling a pipe dream to the municipalities? And from a municipal perspective, particularly, a city which does not have adequate metering, I think this slide, and this is a very quick calculation anyone can do when stepping into a municipality. This is based on we have studied 8 cities till now, ranging from Jaipur to Sambalpur, which is a small city in Odisha. This is true for all the cities. The figures may vary. The general message is there from all the cities, and I think this will be true for most of the cities in India. So this is a city where the connected load was 440 kilowatts in the street lighting load, as per the utility records and the municipality records. So the annual billing, as per the records, were 1.8 million units. Now, I emphasize this term as per the records because now you must understand that the billing, the connected load, it was probably recorded in the utilities books and has not been updated for several years. So most of these cities, they under-report the connected load. So when we got the inventory data, in few of these cities we had to count each and every lamp, and we added up all the wattages. In this particular city, the actual connected load turned out to be almost more than 1,000 kilowatts. So it's more than 100% of what they are showing in their books as connected load. Which means, one, the load is being underreported. Two, most likely the billing, they're paying half of what they should be paying to the utility. So the assessed consumption, according to our analysis, was 4 million units. So obviously the percentage billed is 45% of what they should be paying. So therefore, in such a case, to demonstrate or to convince that an energy saving project will give you savings of 50%, will do nothing for the ULB. Because the ULB's cash bill will not go down. So ULB, and when ULB does not see any cash savings, they'll keep getting the same bill. Because there's no metering, they'll keep getting bills on connected load basis. So its billing is not going down. It has to start paying annuity to the ESCO or PESL. Then it's anyone guess whether the ULB will continue to keep paying or will stop paying. When the ULB sees 1 year, 2 years, like my bill is not going down. So why do I was promised energy savings, but I'm not seeing any energy savings. This is a very critical political economy issue, and I think in a deemed savings project, and that's my submission that we have been discussing, in a deemed savings project, municipalities will realize this, maybe not now, but in 6 months, 1 year down the line, that they're not getting any savings. And to actually give them cash savings, the minimum level of energy savings will need to be then 55%. So my submission is, and request to I think all of you, one, great technological revolution. We're seeing lots of good R&D happening in the sector. The prices are going down. I think street lighting is particularly one of the subsectors of the lighting business where cities need strong partners, long duration partners, not just vendors. So there are ESCOs that are coming up, there are companies, infrastructure companies that are entering into this space. I think we need more and more credible such operators, not just vendors. Two, I think we should all encourage the municipalities to not just retrofit, which is in a sense giving the cream that lamps, if you replace 100 watt lamp by 50 watt lamp LED, to say 50%. I think we should encourage them to use the opportunity to improve the entire sector, the system, the infrastructure, remove the deficiencies, metering, earthing, whatever it takes so that those LEDs will be sustainable, the performance of those LEDs will be sustainable in 7 years. And finally, I think ESL has done a great job. They've ramped up rapidly. They have a huge task further ahead also. But Now is the time when people like you also will need to start coming in directly and investing in these projects, because ultimately ESL Subhashini will win it. Morning I heard a figure of lakhs of crores of rupees. I think we need to crowd in commercial finance. With that I have my presentation. Thank you.